What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I want to talk about this state Senate race in Michigan. We can learn a lot from just looking at some of these different races, just to see how the outcome, to see if Democrats are outperforming, if Republicans are outperforming. And in this race, we see that Democrats outperformed. They outperformed Democrats in the past in this Senate race. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. I'm also going to show you the polling coming out of Michigan for the U.S. Senate race. And then we'll take a look at the Senate map, and I'll show you why Michigan is very important for Democrats to win if they want to take back control of the Senate. So we're going to do all of that in this video. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video. And if you're watching this video and you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at VoteHub. Now, this was a few days ago. Now, you guys have to excuse me. I just got back from a long trip. And so I'm a little behind on the breaking news, but we can still tie this into what's going on in the U.S. Senate race in Michigan. Now, remember, this is a state Senate race, okay? We're talking about a state Senate race, District 35. And so in this race, Chedrick Green won, and he won by 58.9% to Jason Tooney. Jason Tooney was 39.4%. Now, what's interesting about this, and if you just look here, and VoteHub kind of gave us some information here. So it says the district voted Harris +1. It was actually less than 1%. This district went for Harris in 2024, less than 1%. So this is shaping up to be about a 19-point outperformance for Democrats versus 2024. And so when we're looking at these elections, especially when we're looking at special elections and just, the primaries, one thing that we're looking for is we're looking for how did these districts perform in 2024? And if we see Democrats outperforming, so let's say in this case, Harris, she won by about 1%. Now we're looking at Chedrick. Chedrick won by almost, 20%. And so that right there is showing you that voters have changed. They've changed their voting patterns, and they're voting for Democrats at a much higher rate. That's what that is showing us. Okay, now if we go even a step further, and we go back to, it says Michigan, a state Senate elected Chedrick Green, sizable victory tonight, exceeding even Barack Obama's 2008 margins. So now when we start looking at back in 2008, this same district went Obama 17.3%. In 2012, it went Obama plus 9.6%. In 2016, it went Clinton plus 0.2%. In 2020, it went Biden plus 3.2%. And then in 2024, it went Harris plus 0.9%. And then in the latest election, it's showing Green plus 19.5%. And so what does that mean? That means Democrats, independents, maybe even some Republicans are voting for the Democrat in that district, because that's why we're seeing the numbers that high. Now, we could be looking at Tooney and saying, well, Tooney just wasn't a good candidate, and that's why Green won by so much. And so how does this affect the U.S. Senate race? So now we're talking about the U.S. Senate. So we're talking about the U.S. Senate. We have a primary in Michigan. It's going to be August 4th. And right now, there are three major candidates that are running on the Democratic side. And then on the Republican side, it looks like there's about 5 candidates, but realistically, Rogers is the front runner. So when we're looking at, and we'll go back up to the Democrats here, when we're looking at some of the latest polling, let's do the average of the last 3 polls. We're using 270 to win here. So the average of the latest polling is showing El Sayed at 23%, it's showing McMorrow at 20.7%, and it's showing Stevens at 20.3%. And so right now, when we're looking at the polling average, El Sayed is ahead. Okay, and he was third before. Just a couple months ago, he was third. So he's really increased his numbers here according to the polls. So let's look at some of the individual polls here. So Glenn Griff Group, this was conducted on 4/21/2026, 500 likely voters. And so it's a little less than average, but it is likely voters, so that's good. Now we have the margin of error plus or minus 4.4%. We have El Sayed at 23%, McMorrow at 16%, and Stevens at 25%, and then other at 36%. So you have a large group of other there, and that really will change things depending on who they're voting for. And looking at this, when we're seeing 3 candidates, a lot of times what's happening is they just don't know which candidate they're going to vote for. And so when you ask them the question, they say, I don't know yet. I'm still doing research or what have you. And so they put them in that other category. But once the voters start figuring out who they're going to vote for, then it will change these numbers. But right here, Stevens does have the lead. Now, remember, Stevens was the front runner just a couple of months ago. And so now we have pretty much all three candidates are running pretty much neck and neck. So let's look at the Emerson College poll. This was conducted on 4/16/2026, 519 likely voters, plus or minus, margin of error is plus or minus 4.3%. El Sayed, 24%. McMorrow, 24%. Stevens, look at this, 13%. And so this was one poll that people were looking at because it's an Emerson poll, and Emerson is a very good pollster. The fact that you have El Sayed and McMorrow, the two that were 2 and 3, are now tied for first, and then you have Stevens at 13%, and then you have other, again, at 39%. Now, the other at 39%, like I said, depending on how things go, though, that 39% is really going to decide who is the Democratic nominee. Okay, let's look at one more, Data for Progress. This was conducted on 4/15/2026. 515 likely voters, plus or minus 4%. You have El Sayed at 22%, McMorrow at 22%, and Stevens at 23%. So pretty much a dead heat here. And then you have the other at 33%. So, I mean, this race is very, very close. This primary race for Democrats is going to be a close race. Now, a quick look at the Republicans. You do have this Emerson College poll conducted on 4/16/2026, 452 likely voters, margin of error 4.6%, but you see Rogers there 55%. So Rogers pretty much is dominating. Now you do have other at 39%, so that other could make things interesting, but right now Rogers is the front runner and will probably be the nominee for the Republicans. And so now let's focus on the general election. So the general election, Emerson College, this was conducted January 29, 2026, so it's a little while ago. 1,000 likely voters, plus or minus 3%. We have Stevens at 47% and Rogers at 42%, and then other at 11%. So you see Stevens does have the lead here. And then when we move down, we can look at this Emerson poll. This is McMorrow, okay? Emerson poll with McMorrow. This was conducted on 1/29/2026. Same thing, 1,000 likely voters, a margin of error plus or minus 3%. You have McMorrow at 46%. You have Rogers at 43%. And you have other at 11%. And then when we go down, we'll look at this Emerson College poll. This was January 29, 2026. Same thing as far as the sample size, 1,000 likely voters. And then we have the margin of error is plus or minus 3%. You have El Sayed at 43%. You have Rogers at 43%. And then you have other at 14%. And so this poll is a little older, so we are waiting for some of the latest polling coming out showing the Democrat against a Republican. But what we can gather from here is if it's McMorrow, if it's Stevens, it's showing that they do have a slight advantage over El Sayed versus the Republican Rogers. Now, why does all of this matter? So if we're looking at our map, and what I've done here, these toss-ups, I'm considering these are in play. Okay, these are the states that are in play for both Democrats and Republicans. So if we're looking at the toss-ups at 9, I think we have about 9 states that are in play. They could flip either way. And so when it comes to Democrats, they need to defend 3 of these seats. Okay, so Georgia is one of them. And so if Ossoff wins in Georgia, then that's one state they need to defend. They also need to defend New Hampshire. And so if Pappas wins in New Hampshire, then they defended New Hampshire. And then they need to defend Michigan. And that's why Michigan is important, because if they can't defend Michigan, if they lose to a Republican in Michigan, then we're going to be looking at a situation where the Democrats' pathway to take back control of the Senate is going to be much harder. And so let me just show you here. If we're looking at a situation where Democrats win in Michigan, now Democrats need to net 4 seats. So what we have remaining, we have 6 seats remaining. Democrats need to win 4 out of those 6. Now, if we were in a situation where, let's say, Republicans win in Michigan, now we have 6 seats remaining. Democrats would need to win 5 out of the 6. And so now you see how it gets harder. And when we start looking at this map, the reason why it gets difficult for Democrats if they can't win Michigan is because now they need to win those 5 seats. And so let's look at the map here. So Democrats would have to win in North Carolina, which I think they will. They have a good shot at winning. Roy Cooper, I think, is going to do well. They'd have to win in Maine. They would also have to win in Ohio. and then they would have to win in Alaska. And so that would be the net 4, but they only have 50. Democrats and independents would still be sitting at 50. They need to get to 51. And so that would mean they need to win Texas or Iowa. And so you see, it just gets harder for Democrats if they don't win in Michigan. Now, if they win in Michigan, then we're looking at Democrats and independents at 51. And so Democrats being able to net 4 seats, so if they can defend Georgia, if they can defend Michigan, if they can defend New Hampshire, and then net those 4 seats, that's a pathway that's reasonable. Democrats can do this because of North Carolina. I think they have a really good shot at winning in North Carolina, Maine, Ohio, and Alaska. And I also think they have a real shot at winning in Texas with Tallarico. I think they have a shot at winning in Iowa as well. And so Michigan is the key here. If they can't win in Michigan, it's going to be much harder for them to take back control of the Senate, just because they're going to have to pick up a seat to cover Michigan, which means they're going to have to win 5 seats. And so I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about the analysis? Do you think I'm right on the money? Do you think I'm off? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. And remember, stay informed, stay engaged, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.